This is the Cult Faction Podcast, episode 49, Vehicle Supremacy and Alien Residency.
Superman.
Hello and welcome to the Cult Faction Podcast, episode 49, Vehicle Supremacy and Alien Residency. I'll be your host this evening. I'm Brett Summers, and joining me are
Paul Huggins
and Damien Hicks.
And we have got a show for you this week.
Oh, have we got a show?
Have we?
We are ready. We are ready to drop.
We haven't yet because we haven't recorded it. So technically, we haven't.
We are ready to drop our super awesome new section, the Resident Alien Residency, that talks about
that effect.
Yeah, which is going to go through the new season 2 of Resident Alien that we have been waiting to watch. We were very excited last week about it, and it's finally here in the UK, and we can talk about it. And also, this episode is one of our very special focus episodes where we are looking at the top vehicles in TV history.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it can be any TV show, any vehicle. What are the best? So to get us started, let's turn over to Mr. Damien Hicks for our Resident Alien Residency.
Okay. So,
Over to you, Damien.
unlike pretty much every episode in the last 7 weeks where I've moaned about Book of Boba Fett,
You've actually got a big smile on your
I
face.
have.
It looks
I absolutely. This is just one
It
episode.
looks like you're
in, and
having
I
a poo.
absolutely
If
loved
you were
it.
a baby right now, I would say you were having a poo. Because you're smiling that much. It must be wind.
No, it's not. It's just the pure joy of a new episode of Resident Alien. I mean, as is always the case, I spent the first 5, 10, 15 minutes trying to remember what happened in season 1 because I didn't go back and watch it. But
I actually went back and watched the pilot episode again just to freshen it in my mind. And
I mean, to be fair, they did have a little synopsis which helped, but I'm no good at remembering things. But it all kind of pretty much fell into place as the episode went along. I mean, I'm liking the idea. We probably should say, if you haven't watched,
yeah, if you haven't watched season 1 of
which only
Resident
dropped
Alien,
last night, but here it is, just for your awareness. The
spoiler bell. The spoiler bell has been rung. Spoilers.
This is full of spoilers for
spoilers
season
will
one,
be
episode
spoken.
1.
This is season 2, episode 1, Old Friends.
Indeed.
We're going to spill the spoilers.
And it was written by Chris Sheridan and directed by Robert Duncan McNeil.
Good to know. Anyway, I'm liking the idea that his focus is going to be shifting from destroying humanity to saving it, and I really hope he's going to keep the octopus.
Voiced by Nathan Fillion.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of those things. I literally binged the first season on my own, actually, even though I was watching it like at 6 or 7 p.m. I think we were in lockdown, so everyone else was just busy. Or
Because I kept telling you two to watch it, and you're like,
That's right,
oh.
Yeah.
So
We were cynical at first.
as Brett mentioned, I was the one that said to you guys, "You need to watch this." And I know that you didn't want to do it, but you know, I bet you're glad that you followed my advice now. And it's just one of those programs that I can just put on, and you know, you look up and you don't know where the time's gone, and instantly when the episode ends, you just want the next one to be there.
Yeah.
Which I'm going to struggle with, you know, obviously because we only get one a week. But yeah, it's just Alan Tudyk is just brilliant in this. You know, he's been almost the understudy for many years in films, TV shows, and he gets to shine, and shine he does. It's just fantastic, and just seeing him and the kid Max, is it?
Yeah, I've written down the kid in some of the other things I want to say, but yeah, you're right. It's Max. I couldn't remember his name.
Just seeing, he wants to hate Max with everything he's got because that's what he feels he should, and he wants, telling Max how he's going to kill him or how he should die, but all the while, well, actually, you kind of love him a little bit, don't you?
The conversation they had in the shack. So Alien Harry. I'm gonna from now on, when I'm talking about this. When I say Alien Harry, it means we see Alien Harry and not Alan Tudyk as himself. So the conversation between Alien Harry and the kid was just comedy gold.
Yeah.
The way he can't get his head around the insult sort of being thrown straight back at him and says, "I know I am, but what are you?" was just brilliant. But the pronoun is such whatever it was. It's just brilliant. And then he follows up with, "You're a shit pocket." I generally. I haven't laughed as much for months, I don't think. I think I'm now. This was like 12 hours ago that I watched it. I still pissed myself laughing at it. It was just brilliant. It had me crying. It was great. I'm so happy.
I will say, just as an aside, if you like Alan Tudyk in this, check out season 1 of Doom Patrol because he's amazing in that, or he's the bad guy. Mr. Nobody.
Okay, you've got to bring it down, haven't you?
No, I'm just giving you a recommendation. And I was right on this one, was I not? And we're all talking about the work of Alan Tudyk, and it's relevant.
He was great as the chicken in Moana, too.
But I will say, I'll be honest, I liked half of this episode. More the second half. The first half reminded me a little bit of one of those Doctor Who episodes where he changes into a new, or she changes into a new doctor. They change into a new doctor, whatever it is now. Please don't hate me. And and they can't remember who they are for a bit, and then they get their memory back at the key point, and then it kicks ass and moves forward. And I felt a little bit of that.
Yeah,
at the beginning.
It was very much an episode of two halves because it almost felt as if it jumped.
And it went back to the bit of him being wanting to be the dude from Law and Order, the dad from Dirty Dancing. Yeah. I don't know the actor's name, I forget now, but it was the dad in Dirty Dancing, Law and Order, and that was. And only because I'd rewatched the pilot, it was kind of playing back on that, and I remembered it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have remembered it.
No, I did remember. But just on as an aside from that, I really like the way that when they were doing that stuff, when he was being the detective, the soundtrack, the incidental music over the top.
Oh yeah, went along with
80s guitar type. Went along with that type of show.
It wasn't done badly, but it was just kind of you kind of want to get into it, but you're kind of holding it up, and then it did, and then it went full force anyway. So but I'm like that with when Doctor Who does that, it's coming, you're building it up.
There's got to be it's almost not a reset, if you like.
It's like a little circuit breaker for a minute or two just to get everyone up to speed again. Yeah, I agree, but I just didn't like it.
There's a bit in there when he's in the hospital when he's got the
chart and I was laughing at all that.
Human boob with the sun as the nipple. I mean,
it was all fine, but I was just let's get back to it. I felt like we were getting pulled across, sidetracked.
There's a little bit of you that because at the end of the last series, it's okay, so he saved the Earth. Well, more aliens are going to come and destroy it, and you're right. There's bits of you that want it to get on because we're time bound with how many episodes we're getting.
Yeah.
So let's not waste it. This is gold. But so let's get some introduction to them sooner rather than later, so we can get that build up. Although there is a little bit of me that kind of thinks is this going to be a little bit like Benji Zax and the Alien Prince? Because at the end of the day, if there's some bad aliens coming along, he's kind of lost his mojo now. He's humanized. How is he going to take him on? And it'll be interesting to see whether he does try and get badass again to take him on, or whether he calls upon.
Yeah, because a lot of the original the comedy from the first season comes from the badass bit, but also from the fact that you're rooting for someone who's wanting to kill the human race. So, and that plays on, it flips the
dynamic.
Thank you. That's the word I was looking for.
But it does look like season 2 will be 8 episodes compared to 10 in season 1. But that's not a bad thing because,
No.
as long as the quality's still there,
Well, they'll be building up for season 3. It depends on how. I'm trying to second guess it already, but again, there's potentially a lot of content to cram into 8 episodes, and I don't think they're going to do that.
Well, so what I read on the synopsis from what I read out last week, I took some chunks out of that because I quite frankly couldn't be bothered to read it. But there's something about him going to New York, which I don't think I read out last week.
I didn't remember that.
Yeah, so something about heads off to New York and gets introduced to someone who can aid his cause or something like that. I can't remember what it said now, but so there's potential that it sounds like it's shifting from the small town. So
Okay.
maybe he's got
So-
a lot of the comedy come from hiding his identity in a small town. So
So he's going to go Crocodile Dundee.
who was?
possibly.
This is me trying to remember it all now. Who was the guy hiding at the house when they went looking for the other doctor?
Yeah, I don't remember. So there was 2, wasn't there? There was the black guy and the woman.
Oh, yes, I think it's still the black guy because I think the woman.
Well, this is what I was going to ask you. If I can't, so the
Because Linda Hamilton was the big boss, wasn't
yeah, she was the big boss.
Yep.
But you got the kids' parents, Max. Their parents.
Yeah,
Has something happened to them?
well, no,
Because there's-
they battered. They got held
Yeah,
out.
yeah, I got that.
And
Can I finish?
Yes. all
So
right.
they're almost completely different characters in the way they're acting at the moment. They're like getting all hot under the collar when they're talking about the beating. I don't remember any of that sort of horniness. That's
Well, that's the thing. I think it's because they beat up the muggers.
Yeah.
And they've just suddenly they've opened up a new
that's what I
side
was
to
saying.
them.
Is,
And
is
all,
that
yeah.
just that, or,
I-
or
well,
are
at the
they going to
moment,
say
Yeah, no, because
something's possessed? I don't know,
no,
possessed.
because
isn't
I
the
think
right
their
word, but-
relationship was cooling down a bit. Then they kicked their asses, and then they kind of got this newfound.
they've gone kinky.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But
Yeah.
I was wondering, did I miss something in the last, or
Nah.
not necessarily miss it, just don't remember.
Because they got took away. So that's the guy there. Because it was the black.
I don't remember the
black
black guy
gentleman.
escaping. To be fair,
Yeah, that's what I mean. So I don't know if he's on the run still, but the doctor was taken by the FBI or the government, wasn't he? Because he was the one, he took over as a doctor, and a little boy told him that the town doctor was an alien, and they come and
Yeah.
took him away because he took over as the old miscue. They got it wrong.
Yeah,
And then, so unless he's been in a lab somewhere getting probed and tortured or something, we'll come back to him because they've stripped his whole house, haven't they? Because the barmaid lady's looking for him, and
yeah.
so I was trying to remember all the different threads and all that, and then because didn't somebody help him?
You're asking the wrong guy.
Yeah.
I can't remember. All I can remember is pretty much what they showed in the synopsis
Yeah,
at the start.
yeah, it's a good start. As I say, to me, it's sort of a bit slower in the first half. Still funny, but a bit slower. But then the momentum, because it was always quite a fast-moving show, and it kind of just cruised along a little bit. I thought, then it kicked into gear, but that's okay. We're there now.
Yeah, but you need a bit of a catch up
Yep.
to what was
Yeah, no, it's fair
previously
enough.
seen for the likes of me.
And I thought the baseball bit was a bit odd as well, with the trying to hide the ship. It was funny, but it was a bit. They're normally a bit cleverer than that, and it was kind of it's an invisible ship. If the ball hits it, they're going to know it's there. Kind of.
Yeah, and you can't even excuse that with a kind of they painted themselves into a corner in the last season.
Yeah.
And they weren't expecting a second one because we didn't see any of that
So
in the last one.
and
So,
it was just. I mean, it worked for what it was, but it was just a bit. I don't know. It's very almost. That was a bit like a bit sitcom-y for me compared to how clever it's been in other times.
yeah.
But it worked, they turned the light off and all that, and it's a bit like when the newspaper was there, when the kids are talking in the newspaper stuck against it in the wind, and the kids are like, oh, and it was kind of, I don't know.
I think we've seen that similar sort of stuff in this first season. Maybe you just don't remember it because it's not that.
That thing, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
But it wasn't a bad thing. It was just more, I think, because of how clever it is when it's on fire. When it does something a bit lame, you're like, oh, come on. But then it's probably. That almost was like Galactica 1980. Like with when they have the kids and the counts.
But I wouldn't be surprised if there was stuff like that in season 1. We just don't remember it because the really funny stuff.
overdone it. Yeah,
It's
probably it
very
was.
close to taken.
You're probably right, but it is a big thumbs up though.
Although
I do know.
I'm sensing there might be a shift in the dynamic of Cult Faction Studios where I'm the
No, I liked it. It was just
cheerleader.
No, it's. I think you're right. It's setting the scene, reintroducing you to characters, and maybe also for people that haven't watched season 1. I don't know.
because it wants to pick people up, doesn't
Yeah.
it? And it is looking at it actually against the American viewers anyway. It's projected at 1.36 million viewers, which is actually higher than any episode. Episode 2 of season 1 was 1.22, so it's its highest rated episode so far.
Cool.
Maybe it's
So-
Sleeper. It didn't when it originally aired, but
Yeah.
obviously with catch up and everything else,
Yeah.
it's now it's like
Box set-tastic, isn't it?
yeah,
And all that,
especially
yeah.
with lockdown.
Nah, so cool.
So it's a thumbs up from all three of us.
Yeah, definitely.
Definite thumbs out. I'm just being finicky over the small print.
Roll on next week.
Oh yeah, next week's is called The Wire. So I don't know if that's to do with the show
hope
or
so.
if that's to play on it, but it's The Wire. The next week's episode 2, season 2, episode 2. In the years of television since its first broadcast, many vehicles have come and gone. Some have stayed with us forever. Some have been forgotten. Some deserve to be forgotten. But who truly was the best vehicle? Today we find out.
Well, not necessarily, because this may go on to another episode.
That's
but-
true.
Well, we'll
this could
see.
be a two-parter for all we know.
It could, innit? We may find out. Okay. Start with you this time, Paul.
Okay, so I I have to mention it because as a kid it was probably one of the coolest, and in this case, car going. And this is a Pontiac Trans Am. This is a black Pontiac Trans Am with a flashing red light at the front. It's kit. Knight Rider. So not only was it just a cool car, it could talk. It had AI. It had gadgets, ejector seats.
Super pursuit mode.
Later on, you're right, yeah.
Yeah, it was just we've spoken about Knight Rider obviously in the past with some of our childhood classic TV shows, but it was such a phenomenal car, and I wanted Kit as my car. I don't think there's anything
I think most people did.
I don't
There's
think
nothing to
there's-
be ashamed of.
anything more to say, and I don't think I'm going to get any disagreements that Kit was a bloody brilliant vehicle going. And let's face it, a lot of the time he was a lot better than his human counterpart that was probably too busy trying to get his end away.
Or drunk.
Or
So it helped, especially when you go back and watch those episodes now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it helped a lot with keeping David Hasselhoff with a license, Kit did.
yeah, but even the little red turbo buttons and all that kind of stuff on the dashboards, and the it was just brilliant. And yes, they try to introduce some other vehicles into Knight Rider, maybe a contender to Kit, but a bad version car. That's right. But there's only one Kit.
Yep.
No, fair enough. Kit stands out even now. People, even if there are people that probably don't even know the series, but will know the car and know, which
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you,
If
thank you,
if have
Battlestar
a replica
Galactica.
kit, it'll draw a crowd. No.
Draw me.
Yeah,
You're getting some.
definitely.
Well, I don't know.
especially
If
if
I
you-
turn up, that doesn't necessarily mean you're getting some if you're the driver. Let's be clear.
Look, you have to have the medallion and metal leather jacket, I suppose.
Okay, so I'm gonna bring to the table a car that I know is not any way, shape, or form a contender to be a reigning champion of anything. But I think just for the pure fact that it appears in so many different shows, from the 70s right the way through to to in fact 2000s, to be fair, and that is the Ford Capri.
Oh, you're going with the model, the make.
I'll go with the
Not a
model and make on
specific.
this one.
Okay.
Okay.
But because it appears in so many
Yeah,
different
I
things.
hear
So
you.
it was iconic in the professionals
Yep.
with what's his name, Bodie and Doyle, and
Yeah.
all that malarkey. Then it was on a downward slide by the 80s when we see it in Minder, when Terry and Arthur are pretty much haggling over a car by the looks of it in the opening sequences, to absolute pariah of tackiness in Only Fools and Horses.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, to be fair, it's on the comeback trail now. If you go, I watch a few motoring shows every now and again, and getting like an original D-Reg Ford Capri in a decent condition will set you back 25, 30 grand. So that they're by no means, the kind of pariah that they were when Del Boy had his Capri gear,
Bright green
one. But yeah, so just as I say, it's never going to be a contender, but I think it should have an honorary mention in any discussion when you talk about cars or vehicles in TV shows. Not a particular one, so it's not from a particular show. It's just you can thread it through 30 odd years of TV shows.
Yeah. No, that's a good shout.
That's all I have to say about the matter. Not the vehicle matter itself, just the Capri. And I wouldn't say no to one, to be fair. It's probably the closest we ever got to. I mean, you can get a Ford Mustang over here now, but you couldn't get you wouldn't be able to get, without a huge amount of expense, get a Ford Mustang in the 70s and 80s, and that was probably the closest thing I think we had over here in the UK. But anyway, this is not a motoring show, so I'm not going to go all Jeremy Clarkson. But I think
why have you tucked your shirt into your jeans?
Yeah, the thing is, I've got a car as well. We've turned it to Top Gear, which is something I never wanted in my life, ever. My car is an orange 1969 Dodge Charger.
What, you mean one that was so good you didn't even need to use the doors?
It was very good. You need to bows and arrows in the boot. And we won't say what was painted on the roof anymore, but at the time it was cool, but now it's not that cool
so.
anymore.
I've written one sentence for this, which is I don't want to steal your thunder, so you can carry on after this. But I think, the General Lee Dodge Charger is problematic now, but for people of a certain age who are able to detach from the flag and the history, it's a thing of beauty.
I just remember it as a child, and I've never found the pictures, but I know I've got them somewhere. My auntie's boyfriend had done one up, and it looked exactly like it, and they had a CB as well. Cool. They didn't like me getting in through the window, though, because it ruined the seats as a small child. And they had it all painted out on the roof and everything, and, I was fine. That was, my life was complete then.
Yeah.
But, it's kind of thing. But I do think back now, as a child, and really liking that show, and identifying with the redneck characters. I drew that flag everywhere as a kid.
Yeah.
What did my teachers think?
Probably nothing. Probably nothing at the time.
Because I drew it because it was the Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah.
I knew nothing of Civil War.
But to be
that's
fair,
not
Brett,
something we're taught over here anyway.
Yeah.
Probably most of your teachers didn't really recognise it anyway.
Yeah, just, you look back and you think, man, yeah.
See, I was thinking
I wonder if I was flagged or something as a child.
You take the flag out of the equation. So I was thinking about this when we were talking about vehicles the other week. How many different versions of some of these toys I owned, and I think it's the General Lee is the one I had most of. And I don't know if that's because there was just most of the different things that were available for it. I remember having
the barn action barn thing.
That's the
and
one,
all
the
that.
action barn. That's
yeah.
the one. That's what I couldn't think what it was called.
Not the barrels down and all that, and make it jump
the
over
old Hot
things.
Wheels going around the loop and all that.
Yeah.
And I don't remember. I had a few Knight Rider things, but nowhere near as much. But I don't know if that's just because of availability or because
Could have been.
I was just mental for some Daisy Dukes. I don't know.
Yeah, no. Dukes had they were action figures and stuff as well, but we never really got them much. Although I remember seeing them over here, but when you go to a lot of like the cons of the Toy Fest now, you've got all the stuff. Well, there's been loads since then, but there was stuff brought out then. But we seem to get more, like you said, the car sets rather than. Hey, let's get Bone Luke Duke and Coy and Vance, their cousins that came in for about 10 episodes. And all that, but so Dukes of Hazzard.
Okay, so I'm going to move away from planet Earth.
Ooh. What, for life or just?
Yeah, I'm going to Mars with Elon Musk.
Fair play.
No, so I'm going to make references to a couple of vehicles. One which gets their inspiration more than slightly from Star Wars, and one which I would say maybe influences a vehicle in Star Wars.
Ooh.
So the first of which I'm going to mention is when I look at it, and this is another one where we're talking about the toys we had as a kid. I had this as a toy. It was only a little, dinky toy car size.
Matchbox
Yeah.
type thing.
But I'm going to mention the Thunder Fighter from Buck Rogers.
Yeah, I had that.
Yeah.
And you're right, I didn't,
little white thing, wasn't it?
yeah, tiny
Yeah.
little thing.
That's
I
right.
I know I've still got it actually
But
somewhere.
I loved it as a kid. Well, I loved the series, and we've spoken about Buck Rogers before. Everything from the theme tune to him being such a
Badass.
Yeah.
Lothario.
Yeah, that's the
And
word.
Erin
That's the best way
Gray
to
was
put it.
pretty cool as well from memory.
Yep.
Yeah, she was a great actress, actually. Good point there, Brett. But I love the spaceship. But I think I more loved the actual toy than actually seeing it in the show. But it was so cool. And the reason I say, when you look at Star Wars, well, this is one of those things. I looked at this, and lo and behold, when The Empire Strikes Back came out, you had the Snowspeeder, which wasn't too far away removed from the Thunderfighter. And luckily enough, I had a Snowspeeder as well. But that was way bigger.
They were all bigger, much bigger.
That was the problem. So you couldn't really fight with them, apart from one could be potentially a drone, the Thunderfighter, because it was a lot smaller. But yeah, that was just so cool looking. And the other one that I'm going to quickly mention, which may be on other people's list as well, but it's a good place to put it, and that's the Colonial Viper from Battlestar Galactica. So X-Wing, Colonial Viper, X-Wing ripoff. But I didn't care because I loved it. And again, when you see them come out of the cargo, not cargo bay doors, the launch.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
What are they? Launch tunnel things. That was brilliant. And even the bit where they go back into the chairs.
Very, very similar to ones in Star Crash. Almost as if it was the same footage.
But I loved Battlestar Galactica. Who didn't? The likes of Starbuck and Apollo. The idea that you could get in one of those and fly it as a kid. I don't think I'm going to get any disagreement that these are great vehicles of TV.
Cool. I have no problem with those. They are great vehicles. Yeah.
Cool. Keeping the thread of toys going.
Okay.
Ooh.
This is on my list for kind of two reasons. One of them is it's the only example I can think of where a toy version actually appears on screen in the show itself.
Ooh.
And the second reason is because it led to an ultimate disappointment in the fact that it wasn't available as a toy. So it's the transporter ships from V. They're not great.
Okay.
Do you know what?
But
I knew that. Well, all the toys in the thing never come out.
Utilitarian. They just look the part. And then you're watching V, and Donovan's kid is playing with one.
And the action
on
figures.
screen. Yeah, well, I think the action figures were available.
No, they only made one figure,
Okay.
which I have boxed.
Well, so I remember wanting V stuff when I was a kid, and obviously seeing the transporter ship being played with on screen was just like, it must exist.
It's when you realise that was the one that you saw as well.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was.
No,
model
the
they
figures
used.
in it were repainted. I think they were just repainted Star Wars figures. They
Yeah,
just-
that wouldn't surprise me.
But then they probably would have been anyway. But there's figures now, but there's stupid
No,
prices.
yeah, you can buy all sorts now.
Yeah,
But
but no, they wasn't. They never. I spent years looking for that. They made one. It's like an Action Man size sort of soldier, and it's got a human head, but you can pull the head off, and it's got the lizard underneath,
yeah.
and that. And I managed to track one of them down about 10 years ago. After it's like a holy grail of like, yeah.
But yeah, the vehicle itself, it's nothing special. It's just that I think the reason it had an impact on me is that the way V plays out, it's not all spaceships and fights in space. It's a grounded sci-fi show set on Earth. So the stuff you're seeing on screen is just. The transport ship's more like a bus that takes them from the mothership down to the. But it's just something about it. It's like it's so mundane in the show, yet it's out of this world to watch on screen.
CV used to scare me as a kid.
Yeah, me too.
So I used to see them and think, oh God, they're coming to that. That's the thing that brings the aliens down and onto the Earth. Yeah.
Still one of the best shows ever made. And one of the first interviews I ever did was Jane Badler, which you can check out at cultfaction.com.
Nice.
And that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Which leads me on to my one, which is somewhere where maybe Jane Badler or a few other people might go. It's a sailboat. It's called the Fiji, and it's owned by Quincy M.E. I have no clue about boats or sailing or anything, but it's Quincy's boat. And I know there was already a TV series called Love Boat, but that boat's got some stories.
Yeah. If boats could talk.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the R-rated version of Quincy?
Well, he's always like, he's always on there with some ladies in bikinis, and he'd have to go, oh, I've got to go back to work. Someone's overdosed, and I've got to do an autopsy. And he just leaves them on his boat or whatever and saunter off. Maybe go to Danny's for a meal after, back to the boat with some different ladies. It was almost Roger Moore-like, like it was... Because especially as the fact he was 4'8" until he smoked 60 fags a day. It was sort of like... but he was a doctor. He was good with his hands.
Yeah.
That's what I can think of.
Yeah.
So Quincy's boat, the Fiji, apparently it was called. I did have to look that up, but it's mentioned in one episode or something.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I think if we were to be breaking this down into superior types of vehicle, and we were making a list, I don't think I've got any boats on my list, so that might win hands down.
Best boat, cool.
And imagine the stories it could tell.
Oh, definitely.
If it was Kit and had a voice and some AI.
It got some pirate booty on that boat. Back to you, Paul.
Okay, so I'm going to go to the world of Star Trek. Now,
You never left it.
so Star Trek has, let's face it, myriads of different ships, vehicles to choose from, and yes, obviously the most famous is probably Enterprise, in all of its different forms over the years. However, if I'm honest, they're all a bit boring. They are. Dun,
dun, dun.
They've all got the disc at the front and a couple of things hanging off with the engines and all that kind of stuff. I always thought one of the best looking when it comes to a spaceship, and again from a toy perspective as well, there was a set of Star Wars die-cast toys as well. This was one of them.
Star Trek
toys.
You got them muddled
Oh,
up.
jeez. But the Klingon bird of prey has always looked cool. It's always looked
I think
menacing.
Adam Micro Machine's one of them.
Yeah.
That was another one that would just turn up with toys like the Buck Rogers ship. I'm sure there was one somewhere. I can't remember what it came with, but at some point at Christmas or in a stocking, there was one. It was like the. Yeah, no, that was always a cool ship.
There's definitely a thread running through this conversation, which is they succeeded.
Yeah,
they captured us
exactly.
at like 5-6 years old with the toys and the tie-ins, and that's it. We haven't left them since.
Hey, when you have a
And I'm
baby,
not complaining.
when you have a babysitter that's a square,
That was a different film.
and that's bringing you up, and you're watching these shows constantly, then it's going to rub off, and you're going to buy the toys. And yeah, so the Klingon bird of prey, it wasn't the most.
Did it have a cloaking device?
Wait, are you asking? Are you telling?
I'm asking because I've never
Yeah,
watched an
yeah,
episode
yeah.
of Star
So
Trek in my life.
So yeah, it wasn't. I mean, I think the bird of prey, wasn't as powerful as a lot of the others. It just, I think there was a extra large bird of prey once, in one of the films, that was like 50 times the size of the normal ones. But the regular one was just decent fighting warship.
So to help me, because I think I know what you mean, is it the one that basically looks like Daniel's son at the end of Karate Kid?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you just reminded me of something I totally forgot.
Cool.
Carry on though.
No, that's it. I didn't want to pick lots of different vehicles from the Star Wars universe, as it were.
Or the Star Trek one.
So, geez, what's up with me? But
How are you getting these muddled?
Well, it's because it's TV shows. So in the back of my head, it's like, don't mention anything from films. And I didn't like most of the Star Trek films, so I'm obviously thinking of Star Wars. But yeah, one of the ships I'm going to pick from Star Trek, Klingon Bird of Prey.
Cool.
Okay. Damien.
Okay, I'm going to stick with the space theme for the time being.
Good, because I've got a lot of spacey ones coming up.
I haven't.
All weird ones.
But, So I'm going to go for Starbug.
I thought you might.
It's the all-round workhorse of the sci-fi world. It's small enough to be deployed for small, short moon hops, but also they managed to spend at least 2 seasons, I think, maybe even more, actually living on it.
Searching for their budget.
Yeah, exactly. Searching for their budget. So it's like it. I think, and even though the show's called Red Dwarf, I think it's Spacebug, it's Starbug that pops into your head, or does me anyway, when you think of Red Dwarf, because Red Dwarf, the ship, basically is just a square with a kind of radar thing hanging off the back. Yeah, I'm not going to go on about it. Brilliant, and I think
that was up for auction as well, not so long ago.
One of the props.
Yeah,
cool.
Actually, Red Dwarf props always go for a hell of a lot of money. I think Starbug was almost like 60, 70 grand.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Obviously, A, they're screen used. B, there's not a lot of them because they pretty much would shoot 2 or 3 different sort of shots of it, and then that's it. That's all they did. They kept recycling.
Change the background or whatever it is.
Exactly.
Same as V in that bit where the ship went back into the mothership all the time. All they would do is change like the town behind it or make it nighttime or daytime. It was the same, especially when they got to the TV series. They were just reusing shots from the miniseries because they even had less money. But yeah, no, that's a cool choice. Okay, for my one, it's one I found out about later, but it's just awesome because of its ridiculousness. I'm going to take you back to 1978. We're in Japan. Marvel are becoming a big deal.
Really, I was really hoping we would get a Marvel free.
No. There's this it is kind of a Marvel free one. There's Marvel are doing well in the States. Japan are like, we like a bit of this, but we've got our own shows going on. Super Sentai and all that is still rocking the world. And but we quite like this Spider-Man. So they contact Stan Lee and they end up, Toei, the Japanese company, TOI, create their own Spider-Man, which the only real similarities is the suit. And he kind of flies around, and he has a giant robot called Leopardon that he pilots and drives around as well. So he's Spider-Man, and then he's in this giant thing that looks like a kind of giant leopardy robot type thing. And it is just stupid. You just need to watch the trailer on YouTube. Like when someone had too many E numbers and just like put something together. Because you got the whole Spider-Man thing to start with, even though he's not quite really Spider-Man, but he is. And then he flies a giant robot that came from another planet or something. And it's just like, here's everything we can think of, and we're going to put it all in one show. And it went 41 episodes. And then they moved on to whatever the next thing was. But it was the start of the big robot thing that kind of grew more and more with your Super Sentai, your Power Rangers and all that sort of thing. But it is just really, I don't know if it was Stan Lee and some Japanese executives and a big block of hash or what. But something came out of it that, well, it worked for a season, but it is just really mental, and should just watch the trailer and you'll see what I mean. It's just crazy. And yeah, I don't know if it'll ever come back because we weren't supposed, in those days, you didn't know what happened in Japan because it was, the world was a more wider and bigger place then. But obviously in recent years it's come to fruition that this happened, and we've managed to see it now, and it's ridiculous.
Well, I'm living in hope that it doesn't, but
yeah. It's got its following, but it is just...
Yeah, so is Super Sentai.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I want to see
but
it.
I'm just picturing like a 70s Stan Lee when he was in full slick sideys and medallion and suit with a big stoogie cigar in his hand or crack pipe or whatever it was that made this come true. It's just weird, but quite funny, but not intentionally. So that's a space one, I guess.
I don't know where you'd fit that craziness.
Another one I was just checking quick just to get the space one, and there'll probably be others. Fireball XL5, the spaceship from the Puppet Show. The one of the original Jerry Hansen. It had a cool song. Summer Holidays was when I would probably get to see it. It was 6 weeks. It was on for a bit. and that was probably the one. And then he used to come out. I think it was Steve Zodiac. Yes, and he had like a little flying bike thing as well, which at the time was cool, even though it was puppets. And now it's people go, "Oh, well, they just CGI it. It's tacky," but
We didn't care back then.
yeah,
We didn't
and it was
care
cool.
that we could see
We
the strings.
liked that it was, and you could see how it was all working. That
Yeah.
was part of the thrill of it. But there's a couple of spaceships for you, Mr. Hawkins.
Okay, so I'm going to go on the theme because it segues nicely into one of mine of flying bikes. I'm going to take yours and probably raise it with Condor
Oh,
from Mask,
Brad Turner.
the TV series. And pretty much, yes, because again, it was one of those things. Not only did it look really cool on the screen, but lo and behold, if you were good enough, you could get to play with this in your own room. So yeah, I obviously, we've spoken about Mask and some of the toys in previous episodes. Condor was again one of those ones which, because some of them, you look at it and thought, well, that's not going to fly. Like Thunderhawk, Matt Tracker's one with the gull-wing doors. I still got bugbears thinking that's never going to fly in real life. But when you see the work that Condor does to transform, and then the wing, then the blades come out, you think, so someone could do that, couldn't they?
I do have issue with the back wheel flipping up and becoming the secondary rotor, but I get where you're coming from.
Yeah, and no doubt Elon Musk is in his little workshop beavering away to make the. I mean, he's trying to make a Tesla that can fly, even though it can only fly for.
He's probably already made that
but
one.
it can only fly for like 2 seconds.
He's got his own Boulder Hill garage for real.
Some would say that's more of a jump or a skip or a hop. But yeah, Condor was not only a cool toy, was a cool vehicle in the cartoon series. I wanted one, and I still do.
Fair dues. I mean, when it comes to Mask, I thought long and hard to try and come up with one from Mask, and it just made my head hurt because they're all cool.
Yeah, even the baddie ones are cool,
Yeah.
aren't they? It's just
Viper, the whole shebang. It's just like, and genuinely, it was hurting my head to the point where I thought I could write them all down on a post-it note and then stick them on the
pull
wall.
one out.
And then, literally, I thought, I'm not going to do that. That's just too much time. So I literally, on my list, I wrote anything from Mask.
So basically, if you're listening, make a Mask film now.
Yes.
We've waited long enough, and don't ruin it.
Well, Elon must just make the vehicles.
Yeah,
No, I think I'd rather watch the film. To be
it's
honest.
the Musk Armored Strike Command. But yeah, make a film. Hasbro, Damien.
Oh, it's over to me, isn't it? So I'm gonna mention this one just because you can't talk about vehicles in TV shows without it, and that's the 18 van.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
iconic.
Yeah.
But also the lesser talked about white Corvette, which must have cost Face a fortune in storage because it's not in it that often, but when he is, it looks cool. But yeah, the 18 van, just awesome.
GMC Van Europe.
What made it amazing as well is like no matter where they drove it and never changed the paint job or the license plates on it at all, it was undetectable.
Yeah. Only you could see it. It's amazing that you could drive around in that and not be picked up by Colonel Decker straight away.
Well, you missed the episode where they ran into the Klingons from Star Trek and managed to get some of their cloaking abilities.
Oh, that's cool. Mine, it's the 18 van. That's enough said.
Yeah, exactly. We don't need to go on about it. It's just cool.
Mine is a toy I wish I had, and I still look now. But to be honest, when I look at the prices, I decided that maybe I don't need it. It is the X-Bomber from Starfleet. If you remember, it was like the puppet show, Japanese. Brian May did a thing on the theme tune, and then it made a big robot as well. It turned into like a big robot thing.
You got a thing for robots.
It would appear so. Now, Starfleet was puppets, so. It was on in the 80s. On Saturday mornings, and it was one of those shows where it was episodic, so it all followed on. So, like, whereas most kids' cartoons or programs reset every week, people died in it and stuff, and then it all got really weird. So it was a bit, X-Bomber it was called in Japan, but we had it as Starfleet, and then the big ship was called X-Bomber, and a big X at the back and like a long bit.
I think I know what you mean.
Yeah, that was cool. Always wanted that as a toy, but it's about £800 now, so life goes on. But yeah, so all those that remember Starfleet.
Okay, so the next vehicle I've kind of got a love-hate relationship with, and this is an iconic vehicle with flames coming out of the rear of it, driven by maybe a couple of caped crusaders. This is the original Batmobile. Now, you could say a lot of corny things were in the original Batman TV series, but one thing that looked epic was the Batmobile. It didn't matter that the people driving them were in spandex or maybe wearing things that probably they shouldn't be wearing. But the car was phenomenal. Again, love hate because you could get quite a big toy version of this, with like a flip out little razor blade thing at the front.
Yeah.
And again, it wasn't like the normal dinky toys. This was a full on
big chunky fella, wasn't it?
Yeah, that may have been thrown at me by one of my brothers and hit me in the head.
That explains it.
It was actually their car, but after that, I somehow managed to acquire it. I'm not sure whether it was guilt on their part or whether Mum just took it away from them because they couldn't be trusted. But it found a new home with me.
Was it after they removed it in the operation? You were allowed to keep it.
I think I've actually still got the scar just here or there on that side.
A bat scar.
Yeah. Now, if I'm completely honest, some of the Batmobiles from the films are better, but we're not talking about films. We're talking about TV series.
No, fair enough.
See, it just looks ugly.
Not in those days.
Do we know what it was? I
thought it was custom built.
Was it? It must have been based on something though.
Based on Batmobile.
Based on justice.
Fair enough. Well, if whilst we're still on cars,
or it could be technically a Lincoln Futura. Off the top of my head.
Sure, it's based on something. Thank you.
But yeah,
well remembered, Mr. Summers. Well remembered.
Didn't giggle that.
I was going to say Chevy or something. But whilst we're on something mobile,
Playmobil.
I'm going to bring up something that I liked purely because it was an indication to change channel, because I hated this TV show with a passion.
Ooh.
So think weird
Science.
anteater design, an F1 style 60s vibe going on.
Speed Racer?
Nope. I'm talking about the Pink Panther.
I was going to say,
mobile.
was it pink?
Yeah.
Oh,
I hate the Pink Panther.
the
I hated it then.
the
I still
Rinkadink
do
Panther.
now, to be fair. But the moment that came on screen, I knew, right, this is a cartoon I do not want to watch. So that's why it's on my list, because it did me a favour.
No, I can see that. Because it was. I remember liking bits of it. Because it was a kind of. The cartoon was in sort of. There were segments, weren't there, and stuff. And I remember liking some bits, and other bits were rubbish, but I can't remember what they were now. A bit like Bod.
Yeah, I mean, you got some sort of cartoonish Inspector Clouseau. You've got
The anteater.
the anteater thing, whatever that was.
The anteater.
Well, yeah, but what what the motivation for any of it was, I don't know. It was just all a bit
At least to try and eat an
60s
ant.
nonsense.
That was most of it, wasn't
He
it?
did like
Well,
ants.
yeah. So, just a load of nonsense, if you ask me. But
Yeah,
the actual vehicle itself would do me a favour, because it would indicate to me that it's time to change the channel to BBC One. Or
But the bit I
ITV,
the bit
depending
I
on which way
never
round.
got, and this is more an aside on that, really. So what was the cartoon? Was it an established character before the films, or did the films just come
I don't
along
know.
and?
No, I would hazard a guess that the film came first, because I mean
Because the Pink
original
Panther was a
Panther
jewel, wasn't
was
it?
a jewel. That's
Yeah.
right, in the films. And from memory, the opening credits of the first Pink Panther film has the Pink Panther
Yeah.
in the opening credit,
got
in there.
ya.
So whether the cartoon came off the back of that, I'm not entirely sure. the original with the first one was
63.
63, yeah.
Just looking at it now, yeah.
And then the cartoon, I think, was later
Blake
60s.
Edwards, with music by Henry Mancini, and then it took on a life of its. I never knew that till now. Because it was always like, because the films were like totally, it was almost like, like occasionally now, like you'll get like an action figure line of like some film that kids never should have even seen. Yeah, things like that. And it was a bit like that because I was like, well, these aren't kids. Why is there a cartoon? But then it kind of, I guess they franchised it out, really. Like,
exactly.
Them, I suppose, if they make some money. Okay, I'm going to go back to, going to knock out a couple of flying machines at you now, if that's okay.
Feel free.
My first one is, basically, it's the Golden Monkey from Tales of the Golden Monkey. It was the aeroplane that had those things where you could land on water, and that was cool at the time. You know what I mean? It landed on water. It was 1982, and he did one season. It starred Stephen Collins as Jake Cutter. Stephen Collins, we don't talk about him anymore. He's been cancelled. But it was kind of an Indiana Jones type knockoff thing. And he had a plane that flew around and landed on water, and then he'd go into a bar where Roddy McDowell gave him drinks. That's about all I can really remember. And I think it had the lady, it was either from Buck Rogers or Flash Gordon or something was in it. But yeah, it was one of those cool planes. It was set like, sort of 1940s, I think it was supposed to be, like Indiana Jones. The box set's out now on DVD and that, but I'm scared to rewatch it in case it's not that good. But there's a few bits and pieces around on YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that it was one season probably could indicate that it wasn't that good. And again, I think you've managed to get a vehicle in there that's not likely to make anyone else's list, which is a seaplane. I don't have any seaplanes on my list of vehicles.
Okay. And my other flying one, just to get in, was a helicopter. It had lots of attachments and gadgets, and was groundbreaking in its time. Blue Thunder.
I knew you were going to say that. I was going to interrupt you with that, and I thought no, because that's where he's going.
I'm in my own where there's going to go Airwolf.
No, I knew he was. I knew he was going to do Blue Thunder.
Because Blue Thunder was first.
Yeah, it was.
Well, they made the film, and the film was totally different to the TV series.
Yeah. Was that Schneider?
Yeah, it was. And in the series, it was
not Zack Snyder, by the way.
No, it was James Frantino as Frank Chaney, Dana Carvey as the IT guy in the back. And then you had Hightower, I've forgotten his real name, Bubba Smith on it, Bubba Smith, and Dick Butkus, who was an American footballer turned actor, who ended up being the guy that ran the canteen restaurant thing in My Two Dads later on down the line. They were Rolling Thunder. They were the ground unit because they actually thought about it. That we need some people on the ground as well, don't they? And their boss looked like that Tosh from the Bill. No, not Tosh, the other one from the Bill. It looked like him, but it wasn't him. And there was a girl as well.
Yeah, but was the soundtrack as good as Airwolf?
No,
so I think, even though I know we're not, well, I mean, we've called this episode Vehicle Supremacy. Yeah. So I think in the conversations that we have, if we've got two very similar vehicles, which we do here, because let's be honest, you can't talk about vehicles and not talk about Airwolf.
Yeah.
Airwolf. Werewolf.
I can't. See, I'm sure up until October last year, I had no problem saying the word wolf. Now I have to stop and think about it. Anyway, so I think Blue Thunder and Airwolf, if we have to only put one on the list, where do we go?
Airwolf.
Airwolf was probably a more globally well-known franchise.
No, let's take the popularity.
But the thing was that Blue Thunder was actually an established government thing, whereas Airwolf had the Renegade thing going on where they hid it from in a volcano or wherever it was.
Gets my vote.
I think Airwolf's got the speed. It's got the firepower.
It's got the soundtrack.
Blue Thunder was a bit slower. It looked.
It was more a police procedural type thing rather than
sexy.
Rather than Ernest Borgnine trying to cover up the fact that John Michael Vincent was off his tits.
Yeah, pretty much every episode.
So I mean, Ernest Borgnine gets my vote anyway. But and to be fair, Hightower's not around to smash us up anymore. So he was awesome. Dick Butkus is though. But yeah, and I need to look it up, but I'm sure the real Airwolf ended up getting sold and used in medical rescues, and then smashed into a mountain and killed loads of people.
Ooh, That's a
I'm sure if someone wants to go, because I can remember like it was like years ago on the news. It was like Airwolf kills 20 people, and it was like what? And it turned out it was like it got sold, for something like that and repurposed after it all, and then so it was actually still saving lives for a while until it didn't. So again, we laugh at that, but it was a tragic incident.
Yes,
and we're really sad, and we, sorry.
Okay, so I'm gonna cut that conversation short before
before we dig it any deeper.
And I'm going to talk about, again, from a TV series with lots of different vehicles in. In my opinion, this was the best looking and also the superior advanced one of the lot. It could carry up to 100 tons. It could travel at a top speed of 5,000 miles an hour with a maximum altitude of 75,000 feet. It had no right to be flying, but because of the genius that is brains, it could fly. And, it just looks incredible compared to some of the others, and they should build it nowadays. And this is Thunderbird 2. So, yes, whilst you had something that can go into space, and you had the submarine, you had Penelope's pink Rolls Royce, which, I'll be honest, if it was black, I might be a bit more interested in it, but who wants a pink car? Unless you're Pink Panther, obviously. But Thunderbird 2 was the bread and butter for the Thunderbirds.
The muscle. It was the muscle.
It was there for every serious job, unless it was out in space, and then obviously it was one of the other Thunderbird vehicles. But that ruled for me as a kid. And if you look at the design now, it still looks really cool.
Fair enough. I have nothing. I never liked Thunderbirds.
And you could change it as well, so that made it cool as well. Because the middle bit was always like whatever was needed that week, so it'd be like a
that's convenient.
Thunderbird 4. Well, you could, depending on the mission, you could put the middle bit in. So like Thunderbird 4 could go in the submarine, or it would be the digger one, or the yeah.
Well, back to me. I've just got a few things that are worth mentioning, just for some of the lines that then appeared in the show. So, the Audi Quattro in Life on Mars, just so we can see Gene Hunt say, "Fire up the Quattro."
And the nice thing about the Quattro as well is it was like the poor man's version of a DeLorean.
Yeah,
I think my mum had an Audi Quattro, only because it was an automatic, and that was one that Dad managed to get her. But it was like, cool. Yeah. You've actually got. That's not a Volvo. Where'd that come from? So I don't mind people coming home and seeing that in the drive. Well done. Yeah. Well done, Dad.
Cool. It's an accessible car, but like I say, Gene Hunt, fire up the Quattro.
Yep. Agreed. And it kind of it made it cool again. Okay, my one is from the near future. And it was driven by Sam J. Jones, and it was narrated by William Conrad, and it was from the TV series The Highwayman, and it was basically a high-tech, multi-functioning truck where the front bit could come off and kind of fly around a bit helicopter-y, and then go back into the truck, and basically it had whatever the plot needed. As the series developed for its 9 episodes before it was cancelled. And he was the lawman in the near future. The dashboards when you do watch it, the dashboards may look similar to Knight Rider, as if almost they were taken from that and put into that vehicle. But but it was a great series that ended far too soon. Yeah, so just looking at the tail, it had a Gazelle helicopter cab which would detach. If you know your helicopters, you know what that means. I don't.
No, but I think I can envisage what that means.
But it was a big old truck that looked badass. So basically, he was like a trucker who was a federal marshal, and different like a thing could drive out the back if it needed something else. The front was a helicopter. I'm pretty sure it turned water into wine in one of the filters in the side. It was just one of those sort of. As the plot needed it, the vehicle would have it. And it's the Swiss Army knife of vehicles. It could do it all. And that was the Highwayman. An honourable mention goes to, just a quick one, the Peugeot Model 403 Grand Lux Cabriolet convertible. as driven by Lieutenant Columbo.
I knew you would mention Columbo in there.
Damn right.
And to be fair,
It is an iconic little car.
it features, it's talked about in the show, so it's not just, you see him get in and out of it. It's often referenced in a lot of the episodes when he turns up in the battered old Peugeot, and the guys are always looking down on him, and it's like he turns up in that sort of car. And
It's all part of his ruse. It's all part of the ruse of
part
Columbo.
his, shtick.
Yeah, that Boris Johnson's stolen. But, Mr. Hawkins.
I have to, again, honourable mention, because, again, if you're a kid, I think you have to. So this was based on a 1984 Honda X500, ridden by Jesse Mack.
Oh, that was one next one on my list.
An ex-motorcycle cop, so Street Hawk.
Yes.
Again, it was one of those classic TV shows as a kid, because let's face it, you had TV shows about cars, airplanes, helicopters. Ooh, apart from chips, why don't we do one about a bike and make it really cool? So even a little computer bits on the
oh yeah,
the body of the bike. I'm not a biker, so I don't know what you call them. The fact that it could do a hyper thrust to go really, really fast, maybe up to even 200 miles an hour. I think it even had little pivot. You could shoot out, so it could go around corners really quickly too.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a black motorbike. What's not to like?
It was a great show. Also brought George Clooney to the masses, Street Hawk. He was his best friend that was also like a hunter and got brought in to get him. And he didn't know it was him, man. And then he died at the end, saving him with big mullet and full-fledged.
Cool.
I always remember that.
Worth a look, if nothing else.
Yeah. That was the first time I ever saw George Clooney in something made. It might have been Dust or Dawn or something. I was like, that's the guy from Street Hawk. Which I'd never seen ER or any of that stuff, so I didn't know. But yeah, that was on mine. Okay, I've got. Oh no, sorry, Damon.
Well, just another honourable mention, because it's what most of mine are now, and it's a big yellow Ford Anglia with SBG strapped to the front. Now, does that make any sense to any of you two?
I'm trying to think now. I thought you were going to say big yellow teapot.
No. So Ford Anglia.
That was a toy, wasn't it?
That was a toy. Do you know what? So SPG, Special Patrol Group, still blank faces, young ones.
Okay.
So Vivian's car is a Ford Anglia, which, to be fair, I wouldn't have known that. I had to look up what it was. But so it's that yellow car that he drives. It makes a special appearance when it crashes through the house in a particular episode, and his little hamster rat thing, whatever it's called. It's a hamster, I think.
Yeah, SPG. Yeah, I remember now.
It's strapped to the front, and he says something in his Glaswegian accent. It just has to be mentioned because it's cool.
Yeah, it was Hagrid, wasn't it? I forgot his name. Robbie Coltrane. Yeah, I think he was doing the.
He may well have done the voice. Yeah, you might be right there. I don't know. I know he appeared in a few episodes, but I don't know if he did the voice for SPG or not.
Okay, one more. Well, actually, I've got two. There was the forgotten car show of the 90s, Viper. We only got about 4 episodes over here, and then going back. It went 4 seasons in America, and it was it starred Michael Payton. I think he was a cop, and the idea was that like he's in an accident, he's in a wheelchair, and his memory gets erased. Sounds familiar, but basically this one is he's in a wheelchair. He's in a wheelchair, and the guy and basically like it's a secret government agent that basically is Knight Rider with a different car, and he's in a wheelchair. But the car's not like Kit, because they would have got sued. But it lasted 4 seasons, had done all right, and you'll recognise all the people in it. I think the sidekick is the police guy that does the other stuff is the sergeant from Arrow. The English guy who's not really. Is the dad, Laurel Lance's dad in Arrow, the police chief.
Oh, I know who you mean.
I think but he's got long hair and that still then.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was him. And yeah, and he like solved crimes and stuff. But it was on over here, but it was on one of them, like I think we got about maybe 5 or 6 episodes. Like it'd be on at 6 o'clock one week, then it was on it wasn't on the next week. Then it was on at 3 o'clock the next week, and they might have all been on, and then it probably ended up on late night late or something. It just kind of got bounced around, especially when it was regional. But yeah, in America though, it did go for 4 seasons. Viper.
Cool. I guess another honourable mention, just again because of the impact as a kid, and for me, if you're trying to maybe elude people or be trying to hide in the background, not trying to make yourself center of attention because your job's a private investigator, then what better car to go for than something that's going to blend into the background, and that would be a Ferrari 308 GTS Quattro Valve.
Yeah, but it wasn't his though, was it?
But yeah, he chose it.
I know. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might not have been his car, but again, the Ferrari for Magnum, bright red. Just a beautiful car.
Maybe that were a tiger print helicopter.
Yeah. And obviously, where Tom Selleck is so tall, I think he's like 6'5" or something like that. There to customize the inside of it just so he could fit in the blooming thing. But who wouldn't want a Ferrari to start with if you could afford it? And yeah, just a beautiful car.
But didn't they need something that could go out fast to sort of maximise the weight of his moustache? And I don't think, did it ever even get a dent? I don't remember. That was one of the few cars I think that always seemed to survive, or I don't remember. There's probably now someone going, season 5, episode
probably,
2,
but
someone
you're right.
keyed
I
it.
think
I do want to say it did, because I remember Higgins giving him a really stern look once, and that's got to be because of the car. But I could be making it up and getting it.
I think it got dirty and stuff, but I don't think it ever got
okay.
totally.
No.
Like it'd come back and it'd have like mud on it or something like that.
He didn't get trashed that I know of.
Cool. Yeah, no, that was a good car.
Okay. Another car that needs an honourable mention for no other reason than it got its own episode. But it's from a very recent show. It's from Supernatural. I've lost it on my list now. It's an Impala, a Chevy Impala. That's it. It is actually a really cool car.
Yeah.
Like 1967 or something. It's an awesome car, and like I say, it got its own episode in I don't know, season 7 or something. Probably when they were running out of ideas. But the whole episode is kind of shot from the car's point of view, which is actually quite a clever thing to do. But, it wasn't necessarily a standout episode or anything like that. But
just like we're running out of ideas.
Yeah. But for the actual show itself, I mean, it is iconic for the show, and it is a big part of the show. It's not just again a lot of shows like Supernatural would just be they're in a vehicle, it doesn't get mentioned again, but it literally is. I can never remember which round around it is. I think it's Dean. It's Dean's pride and joy. He inherited it from his dad, and it literally is. No one touches the car. No one can start this car but me, type thing from Back to the Future. It's an awesome car. The show itself, it's a little bit ropey, but as I say, it got its own episode, which I don't think many of the stuff we've talked about. I mean, Kit is his own show, so I'll give you that. But other than that, I don't think they ever any of those filmed an episode. You can imagine an A-Team episode filmed from the perspective of the van. It'd be pretty boring, to be fair, wouldn't it?
Well, they had some where it was from different viewpoints, shall we say?
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for the episode on Quincy's yacht. Quincy late night.
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool. I still need the Supernatural's like one bit I know a little. I think I watched the first couple, but it's the fact there's like 15 seasons to catch her up.
That was the only reason. Well, so I mean, we started watching it probably when it was on the 13th, and it was purely because there's so many of them. You're never stuck for something to watch. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it isn't great. It's not something I would go. I wouldn't recommend going out of your way to watch it. But as the seasons go on, the way it references itself and stuff, it's funny. It's just good. It's a good watch.
I'm interested in the Scooby-Doo episode.
Yeah.
Because that sounds cool. But right, my final one is a kids show that I didn't really like that much, but the thing in it I thought was awesome. I just wanted to kick them out and then take it over. And it was Here Comes the Double Deckers, which has been rerun for years, and they've got that big like garage sort of funhouse thing in London with a double-decker bus in it, and it was I think it was early 70s, but it just got rerun on school holidays and on Sky Channel and
Doesn't
stuff.
ring any bells to me at all.
No,
No.
You know the thing, and it starred. And to be honest, most of the
Keith
kids,
Chegwin?
most of the kids were a bunch of nerds that you could like kick out and take over because it just looked like an awesome thing to play in. Because it was like a double decker, and there were poles to slide down and things to climb around and and slides and all that. It was like
Was it like a Routemaster bus?
Yeah, the old big red one, and then there was like sort of like a play park attached to it with bits coming off and climbing frames, and it just looked amazing. They would hang out in this sort of big garage thing with it and just go on adventures and things. No, it was cool, but it had what's his face? Brinsley Ford, who went on to like be the lead singer of Aswad, was one of the lads in it, and the dude from Spooks, Peter Firth, who's gone on to always done Hunt for Red October, and that, he was one of the kids as well. Because about 5 or 6 kids who were pretty much at that point were all nerdy, but I would let those two stay now because, like, I'm not going to mess.
They went on to bigger, greater
Well,
things.
I don't want to mess with a dude from Aswad. I'm not gonna, and also, Brinsley Ford,
Don't turn around.
he's a big dude, yeah. And that's what the song's about. It's about and Peter Firth, he's done well, and he's MI5 in that now, so he might be able to do some horrible things to me. So, but the rest of them, yeah, we could beat up and take over. But it was one of those. It was like a 70s thing. Got reran like probably before Why Don't You or something like that, or whatever it was. 'Cause I watched it somewhere, but it just looked awesome and
If it was
amazing.
on after Why Don't You, there's definitely no way I would have watched it because I'd turn over at Why Don't You. Northern kids telling me to turn the telly off. Yeah, I'll turn the telly off.
Yeah.
Great.
And it had a theme tune where they all sang the theme tune. It was get on board with the double deckers. No,
No,
there you
I
go.
wasn't on board.
No, it
Dennis
was like,
Waterman joined them.
but again, hated the show, but it looked cool to like, I want to go there. Why are these geeks there? Apart from the dude from Aswan, and yeah, if you're listening. But yeah, so that's my main lot done, really. I think, Mr. Hawkins.
Well, again, I've already mentioned Jerry Anderson, and some of that was the more softer side of Jerry Anderson compared to the Terrorhawks.
Stay on this channel. It's an emergency.
So, what I would
Slightly racist.
What I would
nowadays.
suggest is go back and look at some of the vehicles from the Terrorhawks. They are literally more Alien style, i.e., the film Aliens type vehicles. From the Terrorhawk, there's the battle tank, and just some of the different vehicles, and that there's loads of them. But if you haven't checked it out recently, and we mentioned the Terrorhawks a few podcasts ago. But the vehicles from that just look like they would mess stuff up, So yeah, loads of them. Go and have a look.
Yeah, no, that was a great one. Again, some of the aspects of the show may be slightly of its time and outdated now, but and especially like maybe some of the voices of the more foreign characters. But yeah, give it a watch. Though it was a good show, especially the aliens. I like the aliens.
Cool. I only have one more honourable mention because I just think it has to be said. It wouldn't make any great list of top 10s, but it's the Fall Guys 4x4.
Oh my god, I can't believe I forgot that.
Yeah. And again, go back to the toy. It was one of the only. It was probably called. Actually, it wouldn't have been called. It would have been Hot Wheels, wouldn't it? It was one of the only Hot Wheels toys I had that had proper suspension. So you could drop it from like a few inches off the ground and it would kind of bounce and rock a little bit as it landed, as opposed to a Matchbox where you drop it and it goes with a thud and just kind of rolls over. But I mean, the show itself is awesome. Funnily enough,
I'm the unknown.
Yeah, so in making one of the TikTok videos earlier in the week, I rewatched the opening intro, and if you listen to the opening credits, you actually listen to the lyrics, they are definitely of their time. It's proper misogynistic.
It's all about the ladies.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's awful. It's terrible. But that aside, the show was great, but the car or the truck, whatever you want to call it, the 4x4 was just awesome.
Yep.
But actually, it's but ugly. Brown and gold, trim. I mean, you know, it's definitely 80s
Oh yeah,
styling,
all over.
but it's just cool. But again, nothing special about it, so it doesn't make a list. I don't think really in the show itself. It's just his car, isn't it? It's not necessarily
Oh yeah.
a great. There's no plot lines around it.
I think he trounces some bad guys with it in one episode.
yeah.
I could be making that up. And
Stuntman, bounty hunter. I don't remember the lyrics being that bad.
Have a listen.
I know. I'm just
Right,
going through them in my head as well at the moment. Well, this is not about me. I don't know. But yeah, okay. One I totally forgot and just remembered. The Mystery Machine.
I just no.
No,
I thought someone was going to mention Battle Cat from Thundercats, which was a
Oh.
cool car.
yeah, the big and it had the little arm things
Yeah,
at the side.
that could climb up cliffs.
Yeah, that was cool. And but I think or at least for now, when we
Yeah.
get 800 emails telling us all the ones we've forgotten,
So I just wonder, out of that whole hour's worth of conversation, whether we could actually come up with an ultimate superior vehicle. And I mean, car wise, it has to be kit, doesn't it? There's no. I don't think.
I still like the General Lee.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Kit can outrun it.
If
he
you were
can
to, you know,
outperform
if
it.
Oh,
we-
yeah, I mean,
we were
if
to
my
do what we
life
did
de-
with our horror episodes,
If my life depended on it, then yeah, maybe
I
Kit.
think kit outweighs General Lee. From a seaplane perspective, we've already covered that
Yeah,
one off, so that's fine.
From a
And
yacht
from a yacht
perspective, yeah.
perspective, we're fine there. I think motorbikes, Street Hawk. I'm trying to wrap my brains. I was doing this earlier because obviously I had Street Hawk on my list, and I was trying to think of any other motorbikes that are central to.
Well, you got Chips.
Yeah, but then
Yeah.
they're
But
still
they
just
were
bog
police boats.
standard, and it's the same as
And-
Sons of Anarchy. They're all
and-
just standard Harleys or whatever.
Although Street Hawk couldn't fly.
True.
Oh, so you're talking Condor?
Yeah.
There you go. Condor beat Street Hawk.
Yeah, I forgot about
Does it?
Condor.
Oh,
And then you've got
yeah, it does. Yeah,
yeah, because even Renegade, it was just a Harley
yeah.
Davidson.
They're all just bikes. There's nothing
Yeah, I
wrong
don't
with them.
think there's any. That's a film.
Oh, the amount of things I wrote on my list.
Yeah. I was about to say Flash Gordon bike, but that was a film.
Yeah.
No, yeah, okay. What else we got?
So cars we've done. When it comes to helicopters, choppers, whatever you want to say, I
Airwolf.
would go Airwolf all day long. To be fair,
Yeah.
What about
but it wasn't on your list, so
No, it was on yours. What about Miles Mayhem's helicopter jet?
Viper.
Viper.
Yeah, it is Viper.
I think
isn't
it's Viper. Yeah, 'cause that was like a helicopter and a jet, and had computery stuff in it and weapons.
Yeah, but there's no Max.
Miles Mayhem.
No, no Ernest Borg. I don't know why I was.
Oh,
I don't know
Ernest
where Max
Borgnine.
came from.
Max
Did he play
Borgnine.
Max in anything?
No, Max is Heart to Heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically the same character.
Yeah, maybe that's how my mind has wired them to be the same
Yeah,
person,
yeah.
even though I know full well he's not in a Heart to Heart.
It was murder.
Yeah, exactly. That is
Dominic
where that came from.
Santini.
Yeah, that's where
Dominic.
that came from. But anyway, there's no Ernest Borgnine in
Yeah, no,
in
true,
Mars,
true.
So
Oh, I watched something the other day, and Max was the guy in it, and I'd spent all that time never realising it was the guy from Heart to Heart, and I've totally forgot what it was now. And it's something like we watched, and then it was like it turned out it was him. Oh, I need to know.
Don't worry about
no,
it now. We're not going down
not
that
now.
rabbit hole.
I'm
tell
still-
us when we
No,
you tell us when
no.
we finish recording. It's
I
fine.
am. That's right. So we got that. What other?
So now I guess we go on to space. We could split. I don't want to split this too much, but we could go for actual fighter type crafts and utilitarian type crafts.
Ooh.
Although both, I was the only one that mentioned a kind of utility type vehicle.
Yeah, we just want to blow stuff up,
yeah. So
I mentioned Thunderbird too.
which does blow stuff up
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah, but it's more of the
okay, that's fine. So let's go Thunderbird 2, Starbug, and the huge disappointment that is the V transporter ships, purely because you couldn't get them as toys. Out of those three, I would be inclined to go for Starbug, but that's only because I don't like Thunderbirds.
I don't mind going to Starbug.
Brett,
Um,
could you pick
I want
Red Dwarf over Thunderbirds.
Well, no, it's vehicle over vehicle.
Yeah.
Damien. That's not fair.
I wanted the X-Bomber.
No, it wasn't on your list. We've got. You can't add any additional ones to your list now.
The one from Starfleet.
Okay, so Starbug then. Two,
All right,
2, 2, 1.
Starbuck then. All right. Bullies.
And that just leaves us with your bog standard fightery type spacecrafts, which I didn't have any on my list, so I have no preference. It's down to you.
Well, I'll tell you what, the Vipers survived a lot because not many, despite a few of them getting blown up, there was always plenty to fly out exactly the same every week.
The only thing is that the ones we mentioned, I think the Klingon bird of prey would probably win. There's a number of other spaceships that we haven't mentioned.
Well, yeah.
But I think the ones that
from our list.
from our list, it would be the Klingon bird of prey.
Yeah, fair enough. With its stealth mode.
Fair dues. My vote would have been the little Buck Rogers jobby, but
It's cool. It's cooler, but you don't
No,
want cool in a fight.
Has it got-
You want to be cool in a
Has it
fight.
got stealth?
no stealth.
And
mode,
it's from Earth as
no
well.
cloaking device. Fair dues.
Probably
There we
break
go.
down. Dodgy aeromechanic. Right, so that wraps up then, I guess, episode 49, which we called Vehicle Supremacy and Alien Residency. We will be back with episode 50, where we will be taking another look at the world of Resident Alien and what happens in the next episode. In the meantime, do check us out at cultfaction.com. Check us out across social media. We've got some cool little fun, just for fun quizzes and things going on in TikTok land.
No prizes.
And what's really important to us, if you could write a review and rate us on your podcast apps, Apple, iTunes, Google Podcasts, whatever, it makes a big difference and really does help us out. And it doesn't cost you anything apart from about 20 seconds of your time. So please do. So we will see you again in 1 week's time. So it's a goodbye from me.
It's a goodbye from me.
And it's a goodbye from me.
See you soon. Farewell.
Superman.
This is the Cult Faction Podcast, episode 49, Vehicle Supremacy.
Resident Alien.
I'm not a werewolf.
I like the way you move.
I was really trying to think of an outro from a vehicle TV show, but I couldn't
Yeah.
think of one. So, good night.